Hello, my name is Michaela. I am a 5th grade teacher in Wisconsin. And today I'm going to share all about how I stay sane as a teacher. This upcoming school year will be my 3rd full year as a teacher, and I've definitely had my moments of struggle. There have been so many moments of frustration, feeling like I'm not doing good enough, just complete and utter exhaustion. But despite all of that, I see myself as a very mentally happy, a very mentally healthy person. And today I just want to share all the things that help keep me in a good spot. As we all know, teaching is a difficult profession. There are a lot of people leaving right now, and this video is not at all to say that they're doing anything wrong. Like, I think if you don't want to do it anymore, don't do it anymore. That's awesome. And I think that you should follow wherever you feel like you're supposed to go. I just want to share the things that have helped me because I do want to stay a teacher, and I know that without these things, I probably would be either quitting or on the brink of quitting my job. So that being said, let's get started. I will say that all the things that I'm going to share are things that I actually practiced in my life before I became a teacher, but now that I am teaching, I was able to adapt the things that I used to do to keep myself mentally well, just to fit the context of teaching and being an educator. I'm also gonna throw it out there that a lot of the information that I've learned that has helped me so much is through programs that I've done through the company Flowcess. This is not sponsored at all, but seriously, they have changed my life, and the way that I was able to apply the concepts that I learned to help me in my life to the classroom has literally been life-changing. So if the things that I'm saying sound really interesting to you and you want to learn more about them, I would really recommend that company because, like I said, they have changed my life. I'm gonna start off with what I believe is the most important thing that helps me stay sane, and that is sharing all of my thoughts and feelings about what's going on in the classroom somewhere. I feel like as teachers, we take on so much emotional baggage and trauma and tension and difficult situations every single day. And because we're the adults in the classroom, we have to handle it well. There are times that we don't, but most of the time we are just dealing with those emotional situations, and whether we like it or not, they're gonna take a toll on us. So one of the things that has helped me more than anything is making sure that I get out that emotion, get out all of those thoughts that I'm having in the moment where I have to just handle it really well. Later on, I need to get it out. So for me personally, this looks like having specific people in my life that I can just get it all out with. I make sure to share all of my emotions and my thoughts and my feelings. Despite whether I think they're right or wrong, I just need to get them out of me. I know that with these people, I don't have to pretend to be really nice and handling everything super well in the moment. They know, and I've told them that I need to just get it out, and please don't hold me to whatever I say because I just need to get it out. Another option, if you don't have people in your life or when I haven't had access to people in my life, is I try to journal it out somehow. I've done it in physical, writing it out journals. I've typed it out. I've sometimes used my voice recorder as a journal or my notes on my phone. Or sometimes on my way home from school, I will just get it all out in the car out loud. But I think it's just so important for our brain to process through the things that we're actually thinking and feeling. And if we don't, then we get a huge backlog and it just sits on us and it weighs on us. And over time, that weight can get too much to carry and it just becomes something that we're not able to handle anymore. For me, I know that when I hold it all in for too long or I haven't gotten it out in a week or maybe even 2 weeks, that is way too long for me, and I can feel it on me and my thought process. And when I go into the classroom, I feel heavier than when I'm just getting it out on a daily or every other day basis. That's when I feel the healthiest. So yes, the most important thing in my opinion is to get it all out, all of your thoughts, feelings, emotions, without trying to look a certain way, whether it's to a person, a journal, or just getting it out of your head. I think that is huge. The second thing that I think keeps me pretty well adjusted mentally in my regular life, but also in the classroom, is the golden rule, which sounds so simple, but treat others the way you want to be treated. I believe our brains work really, really well and smoothly when our actions match the words that we're saying or the beliefs that we hold. So if I want people to understand me first before making judgments on me, or if I want people to use good communication with me and ask me questions instead of just making statements onto me, then I want to make sure I'm doing those same things to other people, and specifically in the classroom, to my students. I would hope that every teacher does this, but I want to treat my students like human beings. And that means treating my students the way that I want to be treated. Just because I'm an adult doesn't mean that I can just treat the kids like, oh, they're just kids. I can say whatever I want to them in whatever way I want. No, I want to treat them the way that I would want them to treat me. And so if I'm asking them to use good communication, I want to do that with them. If I want people to go in my direction and feel what I'm feeling, then I want to do that to my students. And really, whatever I'm expecting of them, I want to make sure that I'm doing it as well. And I'm not even doing this as like a behavior management, modeling it for my students. Like, that's just an extra benefit. But I think it's sincerely just super healthy for our brains when we match those words and actions. And so the more that I do that, the healthier my brain feels. And then when I don't do that, this comes, I don't know if this is a third point or just included in this, is being able to admit when I'm wrong. I truly believe that that is something that keeps my brain running smoothly and makes me feel good and happier, is when I'm wrong, just admitting it. I know back in the day, I was really bad at this. Like, growing up, I was pretty prideful and I didn't want to say when I was wrong, or I wanted to argue my point even though it didn't make sense or someone was proving me wrong with logic, and I just couldn't admit I was wrong. And where I was mentally at that time when I was doing that, I would feel heavier. I could feel my brain becoming like foggy and difficult to run. I was just so much more unsettled all the time because I wasn't able to admit when I was wrong, and I just had contradictions in my behavior versus what I was saying. So yes, I don't know if this is 2 and 3, but treating my students, other teachers, staff members the way that I want to be treated, and then just admitting I'm wrong when I don't. One thing that really helped me once I figured it out in the classroom is this thing I'm gonna call improv versus control. So I struggled with classroom management a lot, and I struggled with getting the kids to do what they were supposed to do and behave the way they were supposed to behave, and it was really exhausting. Like, sincerely, I would come home just exhausted. I was so tired and frustrated with how my classroom was running because it didn't feel like we could get done what we needed to get done. And through conversations with the people that I have in my life that helped me, they helped me change my perspective on this. Really, what I was trying to do was control my classroom. I wanted them to do things a certain way, at a certain time, in a certain time frame, with a certain attitude. It was very control focused. And yes, that is needed to some extent. Like, we need routines and procedures and expectations. That is obviously necessary. But my friend had me consider, what if I looked at this as an improv opportunity? Instead of looking at how I can control my students, is there a way that I can improv with them and adjust my expectations and my response in the moment to go along with them? So if you've ever heard the rules of improv, you've probably heard of the yes and instead of saying no to whatever's coming at you. And that's what I tried doing in the classroom. And it literally changed my entire perspective and attitude in the classroom. And I would come home with a lot more energy than when I was trying to control my classroom. So what I would do is, if a student wasn't doing something the way that I wanted them to do, or in the time frame, or whatever, it wasn't within the idea I had originally had, instead of shutting that down right away, I tried to yes and it. So if students were getting off task, I would go along with them for a little bit. And then because I went along with them and there was less resistance and I went in their direction, then I was able to take them along with me after that slight distraction, and we were able to go back to the task at hand. And this was huge because yes, it does take a little bit of time and adjustment at the beginning, but in the long run, they became so much more engaged because I went in their direction and they felt heard and appreciated and encouraged and excited. And now, because we got that out of the way, then we are able to come back to the task at hand. And yeah, it wasn't the way that I had originally imagined it, but we got there, and now we're both having fun because we're improvising together instead of me just trying to control my classroom. So yes, having the perspective of improv versus control in the classroom was huge. Another thing that really helped me, and again is very difficult at times, but when I was able to actually do it, it helped immensely, was treating every day like a new day. There was a long period of time where things just felt like they were constantly going wrong in the classroom, and I was really struggling and it was difficult, but I would try to go in every day like, okay, this is a new day. I don't want to take the frustration and emotion from yesterday and start the day with that same emotion and frustration. It's like, how can I start today with a new attitude, a new perspective, and go, how can I be the best that I can be today? What can I do today to make today awesome for my students? How can I adjust today for my students? What can we do differently today that might make things better in the future? And when I was able to take on that perspective every day, that's when I would have better days than when I would let the past seep into the new day and just let it drag on and on. So yes, I feel like people say that all the time, but treat every day like a new day. My next thing is treating failure or messing up or being wrong about something like a good thing, like an opportunity to learn something. And this is really difficult to get into the habit of doing, and it's taken me like years to get to the point where I like legitimately feel good sometimes when I mess up, because I don't always. And this also goes for advice from other teachers or mentors, principals, things like that. It's like, how can I take what I'm being given, this information, however it's coming at me in the form of advice or failure, and use that information to change for the future. Instead of getting super down on myself and beating myself up about how stupid I am because how could I have done that, or how could I not have known, which again, I still get in that mindset sometimes, but when I'm able to work through that and try to shift the perspective and be like, okay, how can I use this information to create something more from this, or learn something, or do something differently for the future, that has helped my mental health so much, because then I'm not using my energy beating myself up. Instead, I'm using that energy to create something more. And like I said, this is not super easy that you can just, oh yeah, that's it, and now I feel awesome about it. It took time to get there, and sometimes I'm feeling awful and I don't feel like having a good attitude about something, but I will literally try to just force myself to think, how could this be a good thing? What can I learn from this? What can I do differently? And I will just talk it out, or I will write it down and just force myself to consider the question, how could this be good, or how could this be positive? And I might not feel it right away, but the more that I've practiced that, the emotion comes eventually, and it takes a lot of time and practice, but it does help. So yes, treat being wrong, treat feedback as something that's gonna help you in the future. It's positive. Okay, my last thing that keeps me in such a good headspace is actually my favorite one, and that is get to know yourself. One of the biggest things that company that I told you about, Flowsis, helped me with is learning who I am, specifically what gives me energy. There are lots of personality tests out there that people take, and I've done so many of them, but none of them have described me as well and as consistently and as long-term as Flowsis's intangible drivers. They describe how people want to interact with the world. So I took the test and I was given 2 intangible drivers, one with how I interact with the world, like what I actually do with other people, how I interact with other people, and one intangible driver that says what I want from the world, like how do I want people to respond to me. And these 2 together are 2 things that actually give me energy, because I can act in a lot of different ways. Like I can be like any personality type, but it's not necessarily going to give me energy when I do it. And so the 2 intangible drivers that I have described me in such a way that when I step into doing those things on purpose, I get so much energy. And then I'm able to use that energy to be excited to interact with people, and excited to go into my interactions, and excited to start each day and interact with the world. I've known my intangible drivers for a very long time, and it only gets better with time. It only continues to describe me more as time goes on, versus other personality tests, I feel like I would take them and then they would change, or it wouldn't apply to me anymore. And with my intangible drivers, it's really awesome because I can take them into the classroom and go, how can I be myself and utilize those intangible drivers on purpose in the classroom? So for me, I'm a person who wants to feel what other people are feeling and bear their pain so that they can feel really excited and encouraged about the future and can feel how much I care about them. And since I learned that about myself, I now can walk into the classroom and go, okay, where's the pain? Because there's a lot of pain and growth and learning. And so I can look for that intentionally throughout my day and go, where is it? Can I bear that? Can I feel what the kids are feeling and then use that to then encourage them and excite them? And I'm looking for those opportunities all day long so that by the end of the day, I now have more energy than I did at the start of the day because I am intentionally looking for ways to step into who I am. And if I didn't know who I was, I wouldn't be able to intentionally find those opportunities and step into them. And so then I would get really drained. And so what was really cool about learning who I am and what makes me unique is even on the days that I get drained, I now can point specifically to why. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm not acting like myself at work. Maybe I'm acting like someone else or having to really step into things that are apart from who I am. And now I can point to that specifically and know why I'm being drained of energy. And I can either change it or know that this is just a season where maybe I have to act like someone that's not myself. But it's like I can then go towards those opportunities that I know will give me energy. And so this is the last tip or point is like knowing yourself. Know what gives you energy, know your process for doing different things and knowing the things that work well for you and don't work well for you, the things that give you energy and drain you of energy, so that when you walk into your day and you're interacting with kids and having to do your job, you can have the perspective of looking for the things that will give you energy and you can try to fill up your day with more opportunities to do the thing that you do, because then you will get energy versus just constantly being drained and not knowing why. So that one's my favorite because I love uniqueness. I love learning who people are. If you can't tell, the intangible drivers are one of my favorite things. I also teach all of my kids about it. We figure out who they are so that they can get energy in the classroom as well, and we can draw on each other's uniqueness and strengths, and it's just so fun. So intangible drivers are some of my favorite things. I will leave a link down below to the intangible driver test if you're curious. I would love to know who you are, what you come out to be. It's free to take the test, I think. And if you're interested in more, they also have like a really cheap book that you can buy that I read, and it was so good. It taught me so much more about myself, but also like all of the people that I interact with and my students. And it's just, oh, it's so fun. I love it. So if you do that, I would love to hear what you come out as. So that kind of sums up what helps me stay really mentally healthy as a teacher. I know that it's a difficult profession. We have to deal with so much. We have to do so much, interact with so many different kids all day. Like that is exhausting. But I truly believe that all of these things that I've shared are the reason that I'm still so excited to walk into the classroom every day. And like I said, at the end of the day, I have so much more energy to go back in the next day. And when I do have rough days, because I do, I promise you I do, I know why. And that's the biggest thing is like, if I'm not doing the things on this list, then I get really drained and exhausted, and I know what I need to do to get back into a good spot. I hope that these things can help you in some way. I hope that you can take something from it to implement, even if it's something small, just to try and see if it helps you even a little bit. They have helped me so much. If you have any tips or tricks to stay mentally sane as a teacher, I would love to hear about them. Leave a comment down below. If you want to keep following along with me, please subscribe. I would love to have you come along. Other than that, that's all I got for you today, so I will see you next time. Bye.